Hello and welcome! Silrace here with first ever Ace Time video. Frankly, I have a lot of things on my mind which I want to talk about when it comes to video games. But a lot of those thoughts and so on are very general in concept. And so I don't feel like fitting them to a video talking about a single video game or whatnot. So I have been meaning to make this series where I talk about a general category of games or whatnot, and other things which happen to come in mind. So this is not about the background footage. Background footage, I'll try to keep it somewhat relevant to whatever kind of games I'm talking about, but I'm not commenting on the background footage at all. This is about me talking about general concepts, and you can either mute this and just enjoy the freaking video footage, or you can listen to me if you want to. Choice yours. As in, choice is yours. Now I want to talk about future of MMORPGs and look somewhat down the history and the memory lane while doing so to see where we are right now and where we will be heading and what my hopes are for where we are heading. Because Elder Scrolls Online is about to head us. Very shortly. EverQuest Next Landmark, which is the precursor for EverQuest Next, is making some interesting things when it comes to MMORPGs in general. And somewhere in the distant horizon is also Star Citizen, another game which seems to be shaking the MMORPG world a little bit. Because frankly, let us be honest and say that the MMORPGs as a genre of games have been really stagnant for a long time. I started playing MMORPGs back in EverQuest, and I have played this genre of games for thousands of hours. For many of the big titles, pretty much all of them, I have been there for the release of the game and I have played it for how many hours, depends on how good the game was and whatnot. Basically, I've pretty much played majority of MMORPGs which have come out. Now, firstly, one thing most MMORPGs have in common is they have to give you that free month on the purchase, because pretty much all MMORPGs have had a bad release, bad launch, where the first couple weeks, a couple months, or in the case of Vanguard Saga of Heroes, first half a year had been spent trying to squash bugs and glitches and other broken things. And yeah, that hasn't changed, which I find absolutely sad, because yeah, I would like to have a working game when it comes out, you know, that sort of thing. That sort of business. But let's not delve into that too much, because that is something we can all hope for, but is not likely going to change. Unfortunate, but that is how it seems to be. So let's talk about what we have had. Like, if you look at what MMORPGs have done, there hasn't been some, like, really serious innovation in the genre for quite a while now, to be all around honest with you. Like, if you look at World of Warcraft when it came, it basically was EverQuest 2.0. It was just EverQuest done better. And then comes games like Star Wars The Old Republic, which basically takes World of Warcraft and sticks it into the Star Wars universe, and changes and innovates on a few things, such as the companion mechanics, bringing in the conversation wheel from the Mass Effect games BioWare had done previously, that sort of stuff. And the pretty nice class storylines, which are quite nice. But that also comes with another problem, and I'll talk about that in a second. But there are also another set of innovations by themselves. Games like Guild Wars 2 and Neverwinter and Terra, bringing the more of an action RPG feel to the MMORPG scene, which obviously cannot function exactly the same as action RPGs, because you have to account for a bigger latencies and other things, so you can't have the whole hit the correct body part to damage that correct body part type of combat. And also these games, such as Guild Wars 2, bring more of a, let's say, active defense mode, such as dodging or blocking attacks, instead of simply suffering through it and have it be healed through by the team's healer, which is also a way to try to have less of a, let's say, playing whack-a-mole with health bars for the healer to stare at the health bars of raid and then decide who to heal. Instead, supports are doing other things, probably active shields, crowd control, some buffs, that sort of stuff. However, these things also come at a cost then, because if you take away part of the healing process or give the healing to every single class, you end up in these situations where, for example, in Guild Wars 2, where you no longer have tanks either. Dungeon runs are about bringing a team with highest possible damage capabilities and steamrolling the dungeon as quickly as possible, with everyone dodging the attacks. You're also then breaking the whole, tank, damage dealer, healer category. Which, while it is obviously an innovation of some sort and it changes the gameplay, there are people out there who absolutely love playing one of those roles, whether it is a tank, or a damage dealer, or a healer. I am personally a healer, and I play healers in every single MMORPG, but I just couldn't get into the PvE aspects of Guild Wars 2 simply because there was no way to really play a healer, to be outright honest with you. So I am not interested in the DPS mindset. I am not really that interested in being a tank. I like playing a healer. So Guild Wars 2 just wasn't my game when it came to PvE content. Just happens to be sometimes. But when you make these changes in these games, like try to split them out in such a way that there is no healer, for example, then you also alienate some of the people who like playing that kind of a role. Something to think about when it comes to being a developer and when you look at a game and, oh, this is how you should do it and so on. There are people who enjoy doing certain something, and if they don't get it from their MMORPG, they probably will not move from their current MMORPG to the new thing, if they can't do what they really enjoy doing. So there is that on the side, obviously. Then we'll take a brief grand at the crafting. Basically, I would say that there has been like almost no innovation in the crafting front of majority of MMORPGs. Vanguard of Saga of Heroes tried to make crafting into a mini-game. It was kind of funny, but it also made the crafting itself be quite, let's say, tedious. And majority of the crafting is basically, I have said basically too many times in this video. Anyway, majority of crafting has been working the same way as it does in EverQuest or World of Warcraft, where you queue items, click a button, and wait for them to be finished. Some variation of that with critical crafts or and possibly some other things. Elder Scrolls Online is changing that a little, not overly crazy much, but a little. They're doing some innovation on the crafting front of like being able to break items down a little further and so on, and actually getting those abilities you can add in, like enchantments of a sort, through the research progress and so on. But the biggest I can see here is the way EverQuest Next Landmark is doing it, where just bring more of a Minecraft feeling to the actual crafting process, being able to build houses and whatnot. I mean, houses have been in previously. Horizons, anyone remember that game, which was a really nice crafting game for crafting, and was so far I believe the only MMORPG which brought dragon as a playable race. Quite like that, it was a funny little idea. But it also allowed you to craft spells and whatnot, and this is another thing I would personally love to see when it comes to MMORPGs, because if you look at abilities, let's take a look at healing abilities. You have a point blank area effect heal, then you have a heal which is a direct long cast time big heal, then you have short cast time smaller heal, then you have a heal over time. Basically all of these does the same thing with a little difference in how it is applied. So why can you not give us tools to change a base ability? Let's give a base ability of heal with a short cast time, small heal, and then be able to adjust that based on parameters. Make cast time longer and it heals more. Make cast time shorter and it heals less. Make it a heal over time with a cast time and it heals more as an over time effect. Or even things such as make it a longer cast time and area effect, a ground targeted area effect. You could craft the same ability into all sorts of different things. You could do this with damage abilities as well. Melee, range, doesn't matter. Why can't you bring us this sort of spell crafting? I mean, look at Morrowind. The way spells were crafted in that game. Sure, it was a single player game, you could do some seriously overpowered business with it, but this wouldn't be that difficult to balance out, in all honesty. So instead of just giving out, you know, stationary abilities, this is how this ability works, let players decide how they want their abilities to function, and give balancing, you know, with negatives and positives of numbers for them to balance out. That is something I hope to see in the future of MMORPGs, where we can actually get this kind of stuff, instead of just, well, level 14 I get my big heal. Until then I am stuck to this small heal. Which makes no sense to me whatsoever, but that's how it seems to be at the time being. Now, with crafting and all these abilities and whatnot set aside, let's take a quick look at PvP. Because we can pretty much say that MMORPG PvP has always been a bit of what would be a really good word? It's just not all that workable, in all honesty. Older games such as Dark Ages of Camelot suffered from things which basically made the PvP not fun for majority of people. Long crowd controls and so on. I mean, original World of Warcraft suffered from the same, it just copied the same stuff, right? When you are crowd controlled for 24 seconds, for a minute, and so on, in one go and can do absolutely nothing, the gameplay is just not fun, right? It's fun for the guy who crowd controls and can do whatever the heck he pleases while you are running around as a sheep. But it's not fun for you. And so we have moved away from that to more of an active, short duration stuff such as stuns and knockdowns and very short duration crowd controls which break on damage taken, like mesmerizes and whatnot, being shortened down to 8 seconds, 12 seconds, so on. Personally, when it comes to this sort of stuff, I would love to see a system working around interrupts. Because we already see interrupts as part of basic abilities. A shield pass which stops a spell being casted. Why can't we have every ability be a channeled ability or a cast time ability, usable on the move, with whole system working around being able to interrupt enemy abilities while still using yours in the correct times? That would be much more skill based than this whole let's stun this healer so he cannot heal, right? Anyway, PvP. I love PvP and MMORPGs, but frankly, typically it just is who has more time to play has an advantage. Well, that is not necessarily a bad thing. I can agree with that mentality. But it's also who has more time to play other things than PvP. Because in many games, doing PvE, hardcore raiding, whatever, is how you actually get your advantage in the PvP. Through skill ups, to gear, to whatever. And that is a little unfortunate at times, but it's just how it goes, eh? So, while I do like MMORPG PvP, I'm hoping we will see some serious innovations when it comes to that PvP, to finally make it workable. Another issue I have with MMORPGs is that they still keep bringing this whole racial bonus business in. Even Elder Scrolls Online falls into this category, and I am frankly a little annoyed by it. We are finally seeing MMORPGs do away with the class restrictions, like certain race being only able to play a certain class. This has been pretty much done away with by now, for the most part. Some games still run that stuff, but for the most part it is like going away, thankfully. However, once we get away from racial abilities as well, so it's all about your physical appearance of the character. So you make your character you basically pick the race and the customization, facial and body and whatnot, just because that's what you want to see as your character, instead of looking at some racial abilities of, oh, this thing is good for the class I want to play, so I'll pick that. It doesn't matter if I actually like the race as a look. Because if you are a min-maxer at heart, you are going to look at those things. And maybe that limits the amount of choices you have down to 2 or 3. Not necessarily to just 1, but it might stop you from making the absolute race you would have wanted to play. Well, there is obviously going to be someone here saying that, but I will play it anyway. Then you are not a min-maxer and it's your choice, but there are people out there who min-max in these games because that is partially what you want to do if you want to really seriously play the game and get the most out of it. Want to be in the most hardcore raiding guild ever, want to be in the most hardcore PvP guild out there, then you're pretty sure that you will have to min-max to your heart's content to be able to get in and to be able to do the stuff. Unfortunately, these racial bonuses keep coming in, which is a little, like I said, unfortunate. Hopefully those are being done away with when these other games in the future come out well. Now we are seeing some combat changes, like I said previously, in the more active style, and Elder Scrolls Online, for example, falls into this category as well, with the whole interrupt mechanics and so on, and breaking out of crowd control with the whole same interrupt mechanism. We are seeing the let's say evolution of the character leveling process, of being able to put your points where you want them, as in the skill points in Elder Scrolls Online, instead of just getting abilities at certain level ups, such as level 14 I get this big heal, which, like I said, never made any sense to me anyway. So I love the freedom we are finally beginning to see in those things. But finally, let us talk about the whole pet peeve of mine, which is the single player aspect of MMORPGs. Because I play these games to play with people. I don't play these to be a single player game. I'm not willing to pay subscription fees for single player experience. Yet that is pretty much what these games ask of you these days. If you look at, let's say, World of Warcraft's leveling process, from 1 to the maximum level, these days, now as the game has been out for years and years, you're pretty much going to go through it solo. Granted, there is the instance dungeon finder, whatnot, and That is all fine and dandy, but you don't have a lot of choices. Majority of the time you have only 1 or 2 instances to run in any given level range, and those get a little dull, right? So you're also forced to play solo, especially if you happen to do, let's say, night shift or whatnot, and you play not at the prime time. So you're doing solo questing, running to the next objective marker, which is on your minimap or HUD or whatever. So you run there and turn in the quest, and you run to the next one, turn in that quest. Why can this not be in a more interesting fashion? Also, more annoying to me is how grouping up seems to be punished in many games these days. Like, for example, Elder Scrolls Online has a boss monster you have to fight solo. Why can I not bring a friend in? Why can I not enjoy this content with a friend when it is an MMORPG? Right. So let's just say that is annoying. It's like, yeah, I'll gladly level in a group with a friend, with people I don't even know. Do my whole leveling process like that, if there is a choice to. Many times there isn't. Like, first dungeons and whatnot come out at like level 15, level 25, something along those lines. And it's just not enjoyable. I would rather interact with people than just wander around and kill monsters on my own. Sometimes I feel like I'm playing a single player game when I'm trying to level up, right? This is to me a little annoying always. And I'm hoping we will see more innovation on this and actually making it so that simply playing with your friend, playing in a group, is actually, you know, catered to, and because this is what MMORPG should be about, right? It should be about the massive quality of the game and playing the game in a team, in a group, with friends. And when you cannot, or rather, when you have to wait with a quest objective to respawn because your friend picked it up, yeah, that is a little annoying. And let's finally touch on the other piece, which is RPG at the name of end of the MMO. Because that is being done away quite a lot these days. Like from way back when. If you look at itemization in EverQuest, there were a lot of abilities, a lot of items and stuff which simply made no sense for anything but the fact that it was a role-playing game, just for the role-playing aspect. These days, pretty much every item you find in a game, pretty much every costume piece you find in a game, or whatever, is just catered towards, oh, this thing has to have some nice stats or no one will ever pick it up. Why? Give us room or place to put stuff just for the freaking RP value of it. I would like to carry around random items just because they are hilarious. Everyone remembers engineering gadgets from World of Warcraft. Not a lot of them made any sense, but mechanical squirrels were awesome. There were other things like that. I mean, vanity pets being one thing, obviously, but RPG items being the other. Does anyone ever anymore remember Sense North from freaking, or Sense Heading rather, from EverQuest as a skill which had no real value whatsoever, in all honesty? Not to mention, there was the dagger which procced true north, so when you smacked a monster with it, sometimes you turn to face north. Just because you were smacking something with it. Hilarity items like this don't exist anymore. And that to me is a massive shame. I'm hoping these things come back. So I think I have held you in with this for a bit too long. I mean, this is going on a bit too long, like I said. And hopefully you enjoyed this little talk of mine. And hopefully maybe agree with something. If you disagree with some stuff, please post in the comment section below. and so on. Personally, I'm hoping to see more innovation in the future from MMORPGs. Hoping to see RPG stuff coming back, hoping to see PvP being made better, hoping to see more of actual multiplayer stuff, because that doesn't necessarily always exist in such a big, way. Thank you very much for watching this long talk and the first Ace Time video, and I'll see you folks another time.